Hey everyone, welcome back to another Lords of War video. Today we're going to discuss Adepticon and why we think hobby events are great.
Great.
Great!
Yeah.
Yeah, for a little bit of background, like Jay and I have been going to hobby events for 15 years, like different ones, like whether it's like small little weekend getaways, like Crossroads was like an old one we used to go to.
It's in New York State.
In New York State, there was War Masters Challenge in
War Masters was in Waterloo,
which is more local to us. And then we started to, a number of years ago, this is like probably 6 or 7 years ago, because I'm always trying to count the pandemic years.
Yeah.
We started to go to
Adepticon,
which we'd heard about for a lot of years. And yeah, the first year we went we were like, this is like,
it really upped
It did, because we went from seeing about 200 people in a room, and that was like, well, this is crazy, like this is really cool, to seeing like 5,000 people in a convention space, and seeing like the vendor hall, and just the sheer vast amount of like different games being played, no matter what kind of your interests are or whatever. So that was kind of our wow moment, and we've been pretty hooked since then on going.
Yeah. So and Adepticon is they're like one of the longest running ones too. They're so it's in Chicago, and I think they're on their like 25th one or 20th one or something like that. It's like it's a lot. It's one of those like consistencies. It's, a lot of people these days, you have like a bit of a glutton for options. You have LVO, which is kind of the new one on the block. It's a few years old now, but like, in the scheme of the age of some of these, like it's like a baby compared. Although it is massive.
Yeah, no, it is.
Adepticon, it has this like, I would say Adepticon has this like refinement to it, that they've been doing it for so long. Like something interesting about them is like the people that run Adepticon, like that's their job. Like it's a full-time, year-long job. Like I don't know how many people. Let's say I'm just gonna guess arbitrarily that there might be like 20 people whose full-time job is to like plan this event.
Jeez.
And then you have the army of temporary people, the volunteers, and seasonal workers, and whatever.
It takes, and it's like from people that have run like close to maybe 80 person events, or maybe close to 100. Actually, so that Sword and Brush year we did was maybe several hundred.
We
people.
collabed on.
That's probably the biggest event we've ever run.
Yes.
And like just organizing the logistics of like volunteers for each game, because every game requires like several volunteers depending on how big they are. It is like an absolute logistical nightmare for sure.
It's just like on the day of, making sure they have everything they need, and then like if you're just running around, you don't get to like, as the organizer, you don't get to even like sit down or do it. You just constantly people, you assume that like, oh, you plan it and then you turn it on and it runs. It's like, no, it's just constant chaos or whatever. And now, like, people, hopefully the customers come and they enjoy it, but it's crazy. But anyway, the point about Adepticon is it's the reason we like it is obviously it's long running, it's well organized. It's not that far away. We drive. You can fly there, but it's hard to fly with armies and display boards.
It's northern central U.S. So
it's 8 hours.
So
from Toronto.
So even if you're in the States, like in most of the States, it's not too bad.
No, you can get from
because it's so central
everywhere.
And then,
within a day.
And then flying. I mean, obviously, it's pretty easy to fly. To the
and the venue is by the airport. It's not far at all. But anyway, for us, the drive is its own kind of fun, dumb thing. There's always stories about I don't know, eating something in the States, and something silly happening, or someone getting a flat tire, or something
or
crazy.
A friend asking for a double at a Michigan McDonald's. And the lady going, double what?
Double what? Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah,
just a culture shock.
That might be the best memory of all of them. I don't even care about the cons. It was that and I watched. I was standing next to him as I just ordered my food, and I just kind of like, I think it's because our friend, I don't know if he just wasn't aware, but like, I don't know, like, if you've traveled enough, you kind of like have this, like, I have that in my mind where I'm like, oh,
I'm in a different place.
I'm in a different country. I can't use like, if I use a colloquialism from back home, they're gonna be like, what is that, right? Because a double is just not, But obviously, if you're used to ordering a double every day, you're just gonna reflex it.
You're in your mind.
And as soon as he delivered those words, I was like, oh no.
And I think it's like the thing with America is like there is obviously like a noticeable like difference when you drive across the border. It's like, but like there's definitely massive parts of Michigan that just look like Ontario. It's so like so you kind of like don't necessarily like switch in your brain like, oh, I'm in a different country.
No,
and so like you could definitely fall victim to that. Whereas if you're over in Europe, you're like very aware of the fact that you're like these people either speak a different language or I'm in a different country.
Michigan is just like Ontario.
Oh, the roads should be a bit of a giveaway.
I mean, you drive around some northern parts of Ontario, whatever.
Hamilton. But I think that like just speaking to the little stories that we just shared, like that is for us I think probably the number one reason to like go away and do like a little hobby trip with your friends is just like forget about like the games you play there and all the events you sign up for. It's like the stuff around it is like always the best part. Like having dinner with your buddies and the silly drive down and like eating out and all these like little things that happen to you along the way. Yeah. Those are the things that kind of give you like the memories.
Yeah. So anyway, getting into the event itself, again, the other thing we like about it is there really is something for everyone. They have, if you're a painter, they have all of the big Instagram, YouTube content painter guys are there. So any name you can think of is usually there, and
they're usually doing
seminars or videos or whatever. So if you're like a Vince Venturella guy or something, like you'll be there probably playing games and doing a seminar and because it's advertising for them as well. So they're there.
Yep.
Golden Demon's back, so it's had is it 1 or 2 years back now?
One, maybe two.
At least one, maybe two. So Games Workshop has decided to like bring back Golden Demon to the States via Adepticon, which is amazing. So you get to see that.
Yeah.
Adepticon was even before that, before Golden Demon was back, like other premier like Crystal Brush and any other painting things. And then you still get. I know. I've had some customers, maybe because they've only got an LVO or something. They always like think of like that, like for the gaming. They like forget like Adepticon still has like 800 people playing 40K and like 300 to 400 people playing AOS, and then many other hundreds of people, and it's been growing. I think last year, I didn't get to go because I had
so last year they've been like taking over like sort of like the hotels around the area too. So like they had to move. And it's unfortunate because like you kind of want everybody under one roof, but like it's gotten to the point where it's literally impossible. And so they moved all like the historical sort of era games into a different setting. So another building, and then they do like shuttle buses back and forth, which is fine. And I think they said it was something like close to 8,000 people this time, so it's gotten
significant. I mean that's like a 30-40% increase or something like that, or whatever, 50% increase. So. And then anyway, and a couple other things, like the standard is high there. Like I don't know about other events, but like everything is painted. So generally speaking, when you play games and events there, so you're always kind of guaranteed to play. It's another reason why we liked it.
I'd say
that now, but that was like
I'd say like there's more of a hobby focus.
Very
for sure.
There's a lot more prizing and support for hobby related things.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that you get that like one of the legendary events at Adepticon has always been the 40K team tournament.
Yes.
And it's spawned into some other things like there's an AOS team tournament now and stuff. But one of the coolest parts of going is just like walking down the hall when they do all the display stuff for that, and the length that these teams go to make these like insane boards.
So they'll make like, without even joking, like these 4-man teams or 5-man teams or whatever it is, they'll make like an 8x4 display board or something, and they'll have like a section of the hall and it's just full of like a dozen or more of these where people have just brought like kind of like, and I remember seeing like, I mean this was a while ago, one year there was like, it's like literally a giant Space Hulk. The size it was an Orc head, was the Space Hulk, and it swung open. And there were like decks and levels for all the Orc army, and then there was like another one that was like an entire like mountains and valley, and there's like all this Tau fighting Tyranids in this big crazy landscape.
So like one of the very cool. I think they might have won the best presentation for AOS, which is. In the team tournament for Age of Sigmar, it's the highest award is the presentation. There's one gaming award, which is like very hard to win. But there's a bunch of presentation ones. There's a Sylvaneth board that was like, and I know the guy who did it was one on the team, and he talked about how they needed like a trailer to get it down. It was a giant board where like it moved up a hill essentially, and it was like you know like the forests out in Nova Scotia. I forget, it's like the Acadian Trail.
Oh, Cabot Trail.
You have
Cape Breton.
I think it might be the Acadian Forest or something. But the one thing that makes this place special is that every like stage up this hill or mountain, or whatever you want to call it, you have a completely different sort of like ecosystem of trees. So they did this like tiered sort of board where like the seasons changed as you went up or whatever with Sylvaneth, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was so just stuff like that. And they do like an Armies on Parade, and we were luckily enough to be a part of it last year. And you're just walking down the hall, and all the teams are there talking about their boards, and there's like maybe 30 or 40 teams. That's
so cool.
With just like crazy good stuff.
You really don't get that anywhere else.
You can't beat that, So like LVO is, if you're looking for best on best, I think, like gamers, I think it's probably the number one thing to go to.
Yeah, and it's Vegas.
So you kind of makes sense, right?
You can go and do the other degenerate things you want to do.
On top of Degen Gaming,
on top of the gaming, sure. Pretty much that. So, and there's like other things, like for Chris and I, the other massive reason to go is a work trip is you get to kind of like get this like all in one place vibe of like what's going on in the hobby world. Like there's like a weird, interesting, like you get to really feel immediately like what's hot and what's not within just walking around. So I know true. Again, for previous years I could tell what was going on, but I know last year, the Chris when the guys were telling me that like, obviously Atomic Mass and/or Asmodee had like a biggest presence they've ever had. So you're like, oh,
you're absolutely right. You know, the way you put it there, like it's like you can get like the vendor hall and like even just like the amount of space companies are taking up with like their tournaments and stuff. You get an immediate pulse on like where is the hobby world. Like one year you might see a company like Steamforged Games.
This was the
massive booth, like killing it with demos. You're like, this is hot, like it's on the up and up, and then like 2 years later they've got like a little table.
They had nothing,
and then they're gone, and you're like, wow, okay. And the vendor hall gives you a snapshot. Atomic Mass had like literally taken over like a hall where all the independent games were pretty much running. They've booted all those people out, and now they have like 4 sections. It's almost like a mini GW, like where they've got their X-Wing, their Legion, their Marvel, and then their Shatterpoint. They were demoing that time, but they'll have Shatterpoint this year. And then they have their own, basically, like little mini Golden Demon thing going on.
Yes.
I was really blown away by the quality of Atomic Mass's presentation. Like, they had a little tournament organization booth. They were so organized.
Command center,
in the middle, like a command center. They were streaming everything at a really high quality. They
let's see if they spend that money like that again. But that's
let's see if it can continue. Right, like, it's easy to do it for 1 year, but when it starts going on your budget line, you're like, you got to justify it with sales for sure.
Back. Yeah.
And the terrain on every table was immaculate.
Oh, really?
Like, it was gorgeous. Like, so. Definitely impressive first year showing, well, at least the first year I'd seen them, because we did miss one Adepticon that actually ran the year before, because it was still, we were just coming out of the pandemic, and it was
the first pandemic one we did.
Yeah, we just kind of said, it was a little too
early.
Too early. Yeah. And so I don't know that they were there, but can't speak to that. So yeah, you do get this great sense of what new like miniature companies or hobby companies are on the up and up. And then which ones are also unfortunately like on the down, like going downhill, inevitably,
or who's just by the effort, and then there's been years where some flash in, and then next year they're not. It was so, but there are some like if you're into like I don't want to call it indie games or like the small games, like there's definitely vendors and little companies that are there almost every year, and and their whole year is built around like
I think you're right
that event.
They get so much promotion. Like
and sales in that event,
and then sales, and it just like I'm thinking of companies like Arena Rex. Like kind of one of my favorite examples where they have like they just display so well that little thing with their little gladiator arena and their beautiful miniatures, and it's a very easy game to just like. I'm excited right now because I want to spend money. I'm in a vendor hall. I'm like I'm going to buy a couple figures, and like you're not going to really be disappointed. No, because you can paint them.
And it's a game that you only need like 2 to 3 figures for. So.
And they're there. I've seen them there every year, and they kind of just linger on. They seem to be doing well.
Yeah, I guess like the price of the booth and the revenue and the advertising is worthwhile. But we've seen some like crazy things that like probably the most infamous. I mean, you mentioned Steamforged, but that was kind of like maybe they just like. I know that company's had big changes because they went from like kind of making because they hit it big with their Dark Souls board game, and then they went full into like we make board games.
They've completely shifted. That might be a good video topic for something.
But the biggest like most infamous like where one year we're like, oh wow, this is max hype, and then next year Dead was the thrice revival of Dark Age or whatever it was.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Cool Mini or Not or whatever they tried to like this game. This Dark Age is a game that's been killed and revived many times, and they went all out one year and they had this like massive booth.
They hired an amazing man, Dave Taylor. Dave Taylor, like fantastic to kind of headline that revival, and he was doing amazing. And we were all excited. The booth was incredible. They
had like hundreds of figures.
The minis were painted so well.
Painted to this insane standard. Yeah, they got all these like big painter guys to paint up this like army, like hundreds of models of this, showcased almost the entire range. I remember like jaw dropped looking at the case. I'm like, why is every model this like, you know, kind of Golden Demon type of model, every single one. And I bought some stupid models for no reason. I don't know why. I just had to.
Just excited.
And the salespeople were well trained. They're just handing you boxes. They were like, here, check this out, check this out. And then and you get a box and you're like, okay, yeah, I could buy this. And then you're like, buy this too. And you get these base toppers and buy this and we'll throw this in. And you just, and
before you knew it, you had a bag.
You had a bag of stuff.
It was great.
And then you came home and you're like, oh, maybe I will do this or something. I didn't, but that's
I built my models.
Yeah, that's good.
That's pretty good, right?
Farther than most people's boxes get to, like, let's be honest. So anyway, so and then Cool Mini or whatever decided
the deploy was too much.
They just did it like a weird 180 and they said nah. Yeah. They like weirdly, like when the bill came, you know how it is like when you start something up, like and start like anything up ever, you have to like put up a lot of money and take some debt in and then like get it going, and then once it's going, right? So they obviously got spooked by that, and then they said, no.
This isn't Kickstarter where we get to just take $5 million up front.
Yeah, up front, and then so
we have to do work for this.
We have to work for this, so so that was unfortunate. But anyway, like it's definitely the most like empirical pulse of the hobby that I can think of under one roof, where you can just see it all and be like, oh, cool, and get excited about this or that. Or
and I think if it's your first, so a little bit of advice on if you're planning to attend an event like Adepticon, I think your first time you go, you can kind of get away with not filling your entire calendar up with stuff to do.
Yep.
Because you will have legitimate fun just kind of like walking around and looking at things.
There's crazy things going on. Like there's so many extra rooms and other like small weird things that like so you're like walking around with your coffee or whatever because you have some time in between, and then all of a sudden in the corner of my eye I look down this room and it's a 50-foot 60-foot table that is just full of people's like giant forgeable toys.
Oh yeah
because they're playing this insane battle, and you're just like, and this was a few years ago, so I don't know how much of it was trying to cast it or whatever you want to call it. But I was like, oh, there's like a few $100,000 of like, because people are playing with Titans and Mantas and whatever, you name it.
Yeah.
They Phantom Titans and blah blah blah, and it's just full. It's just like the Forge World Club or something, and you're like, okay, this is only happens here.
Yeah,
like
only there. Yeah.
And I mean, they also do the full scale Warlord Titan bout. So if you own a $2,000 Warlord Titan or whatever, like they play on the floor.
They do
section like a 30 by 30 foot thing with like, toddler-sized buildings and all that stuff, and do that. And I remember there was like one of the guys that runs it. He was playing the AOS tournament, and I think I was playing next to him, or a few of our friends played against him, and I was like, this guy's interesting. And then I saw he had like on the side, I guess his wife or whatever, they had all these like luggage trolleys, and that's where they had like Titans, and like each Titan has its own luggage bag.
That makes sense.
And then I was like, oh, this guy hobbies way more than I do.
Yes.
And I own a hobby store.
That's right. Yeah.
Like whatever you think you are, this guy's
really into it.
Really into it. So, and of course, you go a few years and you get to know people, and then now it's it's fun to see them year after year.
Especially if you like play the same events. Like I've gotten to know a lot of the guys who play Age of Sigmar every year that play in the singles event, the doubles event. You accrue so many games played against Americans or Europeans or whatever that come over that you just inevitably
run into them,
bounce into them like a couple times or whatever, which is cool.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the burning question: what are you taking?
Where
do we?
Well, yeah, that's the funny thing is so it's in late March every year, and this is kind of the time, I guess,
you
like
have
November,
to decide now,
where you're like, okay, it's like piss or get off the pot sort of situation, because you got December coming up, and December's just a crazy month if you have family and stuff.
Yes.
You're just not going to paint that much in December.
Probably not, but you have to.
So you're already like, okay, I've got 3 months or whatever.
Maybe.
Essentially, maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've kind of reached this. I've been kind of dirtling around with Seraphon all year, like painting random things and not really playing that much, but like just kind of painting and getting a couple games in. So I've just decided I'm going to stick it out with them and figure it out. Figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. Just play a lot of games.
Just play games.
And do it the old school way that I used to always do, which is just like through games, be like, this is working, this isn't working. Yep. And just figure it out from there. Not start with like a net list or anything like that. Just kind of take what I want and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, and generally speaking, if you take a newish army, it usually is a little easier, I guess, because they're usually start at a good power.
Yeah. Like I think you could throw together like almost any iteration of Seraphon and it would be like pretty middle of the pack,
pretty good,
decent.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think I'm not as weird for you. You have like a shelf full of Seraphon you can bring, and
I'll be okay regardless of like how good the list is.
Position.
Yeah, this guy's in trouble.
I'm taking cities. I have 1 unit completed out of a dozen or whatever,
and a baby at home.
Who's getting older.
He's getting older, yeah.
He's 8 months old now, so life isn't so bad. Yeah. But yeah, I've already had to turn on I don't normally, this is only a Adepticon thing, where I turn the furnace on, and I my hobby furnace, and I'm like, I have to paint every day.
Yep.
Yeah, which is so I have to literally, before I do anything, if I fire up a video game, it's over. So it has to be.
It's not good too, because I just got Diablo, and I'm like, Jay, we should play.
Yeah. I'm like, I have to paint. For the cities, it's not bad. Luckily, I got a small gift from heaven, which was the GW released that Ionis Cryptboard model. Who's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
So he eats up a nice 400 points. A good 20% of my army. Just like
not only does he eat it up, but you're not like, I'm taking this guy as a cop out. He's good.
Like, he's good. He's good, and I think because I painted some of the smaller dragons, and he's just kind of an iteration of those. Mm-hmm. I think I could finish them in probably a week if I had to, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm like, that's good. So instead, I'm currently going through. I'm hoping maybe this week to finish 10, steel helms. They're just like the basic human infantry guys. The project that scares the bejesus out of me is the 20 Fusiliers, the gunners, because they're gunners with stupid tower shields or whatever.
They're crazy, man. Like you paint this whole human being with a gun,
right?
Which is more work than a steel helm.
Yeah.
And then there's this second model that's bigger than the Fusilier.
It's a shield, yeah.
And it's like they have a little tank with them or whatever. I'd say it's probably very similar to painting cavalry. Sorry to say that.
Kind
20
of.
cavalry. You got 20
cavalry.
I
have 20, but then I have another 10 cavalry after
30 cavalry.
30 cavalry to paint, basically.
Are you doing 15 guys? Cav?
I'm doing 10 of the Cavaliers and then 5 of the Drake Spawn, or whatever they are.
So you do have
or my converted knights that are Drake Spawn knights, or whatever. Oof. So, and then heroes and whatever. Yeah. I'm kind of glad I'm not, at least right now, I'm not taking a cannon. I built the cannon, and it's a lot of stuff going on there.
It's a little vignette of historical action there.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I'm going to start up a little... City's Diary, so you can follow along as I
a video
maybe make it'll be
vlog?
They'll be little 2 to 5 minute things where I'm like, this is what I've done this week.
Whoa,
where am I now?
I should do that.
Where am I going? Cool. And there's somewhere in there you have to make a display board to showcase your army. So
that's the inevitable. Inevitable display board. Jay's much better at actually doing that than I am.
I
tend to.
I have a board with foam glued on it that I got ready 3 months ago, and it's just been sitting.
Well, I mean that's pretty good. I don't have anything.
It has foam.
I don't have anything.
I could just.
I have nothing. I haven't even thought about it at all. So you're ahead of me on that one.
So anyway, if anyone's watching still, this long video. It's no
one's watching at this point.
No one's watching.
We're into garbage
Adepticon
time.
is fun. You should go to Adepticon.
What events are you planning going? What do you guys like to go to? Put it in the comments.
Yeah. Do you go to them? Yeah.
Do you go to them? Mm-hmm. What's your favorite thing about going to an event? Mm-hmm. We'd love to hear about it. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video based on what the comments say.
Yep.
And you can like and subscribe to hear more about Jay's hobby journey on the way to Adepticon, and I might also do that, maybe.
Maybe.
Until next time, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Take care.
Guys. Bye.